Welcome back to Beer with Nat. On every episode, I share a beer and a chat with people who do what they love for a living. They work in the beer industry. Today's guest is Lotte Peplow, UK representative for the United States Brewers Association, the trade body for small and independent craft brewers in the States. After graduating from uni, Lotte got her start in PR, working at several different agencies and representing various breweries and beer brands over the years before deciding to set up her own PR business, Peplow PR. Back in 2006, one of Lotte's early beer clients passed her contact details on to the Brewers Association as they were looking for some help to start planning events in the UK. Lotte got involved and reminisces fondly about the incredible beer and food pairing dinner she helped to arrange at the White Horse in Parsons Green all those years ago. Since then, her role with the BA has only grown, and she now represents the BA on a full-time basis. On behalf of the BA, Lotte writes, speaks, plans events, liaises with importers, represents the BA at meetings across the UK and Europe, and more. She's incredibly grateful for the opportunities the role has given her, from trips to the States for the Great American Beer Festival and Craft Brewers Conference, to a recent visit to The Hague. We talk about what her day-to-day role looks like, what her most memorable experiences in the role have been, and what learnings from the US beer scene she'd like to see here in the UK. Lotte is also a beer judge, beer sommelier, and recently qualified certified Cicerone. She tells me why she decided to pursue her certifications and the credibility they've given her. We also talk about what she gets up to outside of beer, and of course, what she enjoys most about being a part of the beer industry. Here she is. I'm glad we've got these tiny glasses because this is dangerous.
Very, very special, and I'm delighted to have an excuse to open it.
Okay, perfect.
It's from 50/50 Brewing Company in Truckee, in California, and it's one of their Eclipse variants, and this one is it's an imperial stout. This one's brewed with honey, and it's the Grand Cru range. They're very rare and very special.
Well, thank you for sharing it with me.
Yes, and there's not very many made at any one time. And it's in a oak barrel. I think it's probably got, I'm not sure what this one had in it before. Bourbon. It's a bourbon barrel, I think. Okay. Very limited release, and this has won loads of awards. And the brewery itself won Brewery Group of the Year at Great American Beer Festival 2018. So it's all very special. And they all have this new. See this wax label? We're looking at a beautiful bottle here with a lovely gold wax label on it, and every different flavour and style of this Eclipse has a different colour. So just the 11% to start us off with that.
Cheers to that, Lotte.
We've only got small portions though, so
yeah, exactly. Just a little thimbleful to get us started. Yeah, you really get that bourbon. Nice, like raisiny notes on the nose.
Isn't it lovely? Yeah, dark chocolate, coffee.
Oh, some nice vanilla, dark fruit, sweetness, but not too sweet.
Oh, that is good. Honey. Do you get the honey as well?
Yeah, and I get the honey too. That's like, talk about winter warmers.
It's really Christmas,
for a cold day out.
Isn't that beautiful?
This is perfect.
I get loads of prune too.
Yeah.
Really jammy, dainty
characters.
Sweet stuff.
Yeah. Not the spice, but all those dark fruits you would normally find in a Belgian style. Oh, this is nice. I can understand why they've won some awards for this one.
Isn't it smooth though?
Yeah.
It's just absolutely velvet down your throat.
Dare I know? 11%?
11%.
God.
Deadly.
Okay, we'll be careful. Let's get started. You own your own public relations company, Peplow PR, your last name, which you founded 20 years ago. And one of your main clients, who you do a lot of your great work for here in the UK, is the United States Brewers Association, the trade body for small and independent craft brewers in the States. We are going to have plenty of time to talk about the BA because you do lots for them. But I want to start by going back to the early days of your career. I've got a few questions, so I'll throw them at you and then we'll take them bit by bit. What interested you in PR to begin with? What sort of clients did you work for when you first got started in the business? And then what inspired you to open your own PR business and then led you to the work that you do today? So start with why PR?
It was a combination of things, really. It was an interest in writing, an interest in communication, an interest in people, and it felt like the right thing to do going back many years ago. And well, I've always worked on beer clients. So in all my roles in PR, I've had many different beer clients, ranging from Whitbread back in the day. They're now owned by one of the bigger multinational brewing companies, but that included Stella Artois and Heineken and Boddingtons and Murphy's and old brands. I've also worked on Guinness, and I've worked on Holston and Molson Lager. So a whole range of drinks, beer brands basically, but always on the kind of PR and marketing type of route. About sort of 12 or so years ago, I was working for a small brewery called Freeminer in the Forest of Dean. And the guy that owned that brewery was also bringing in Rogue Ale to the UK from the US. And it was about the time that the Brewers Association was setting up the Export Development Programme in 2004, and they came to the UK for the first time in 2006, and I think they spoke to the guy who owned this brewery and who was importing Rogue, said, do you know anybody that could help us in the UK? And he recommended me, and that was the start of a beautiful relationship, really.
Oh, wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
It goes back quite a number of years.
Yeah.
So 2006, it was way before this kind of really trendy craft beer scene was kicking off.
Yeah.
And the event was a beer and food dinner at the White Horse pub in Parsons Green, and in those days that was reasonably groundbreaking. Oh, yes,
Yeah,
beer
the
and
White
food
Horse is that iconic beer bar here in
incredibly,
London. Yeah.
And the late Michael Jackson was there, and a whole raft of top-notch American brewers came over, such as Doug Adele and Fred Mendes from Boston Beer Company, and Ron from Lagunitas. And we had this incredible beer and food matching dinner, 5 courses, 10 beers. It went on till about sort of 1 a.m.
Oh, my
everybody
goodness.
talking and everybody asking questions. It was really, really good. And then we repeated that the year after that, and then another year after that, and then it sort of. I've started working with the Brewers Association back then, but not quite to the extent that I'm working now. So my career with the Brewers Association has kind of morphed really from just that first beer and food gig into something that's much wider and bigger and more representational role, I guess, really.
Yeah.
So now it's not just PR, it's far more than that.
Wow. Okay, so take me back. I didn't realize you had such a history in beer PR before going off on your own. How did you go from working for part of a bigger team that was representing, say, Molson or Whitbreads, to then say, I could do this on my own, and I want to take my own clients?
So I left my final agency after I had my second child, and then had about a year of just not working, and then I set up with a client that wanted me to work with them from my last
Specifically for
agency.
them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
and
how it
since
worked.
then you've set up your own business
So
and
that was the beginning of my business. Yeah.
and taken
it's
on
just-
more clients
yeah.
since then?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you
snowballed
had
since then.
this fateful introduction to the BA.
Yeah.
And so how has the role changed since your early days when you were doing these dinners to the role that you do now? And tell me a little bit more about what does a day in the life of Lotte look like now?
Well, it's very diverse. It can be in a lot of different things. Now it's more. Yes, there's still the PR and the writing and the media work, but there's also things like event management and organising Craft Beer Rising, for example, or Great British Beer Festival. And then there's also importer liaison, just talking to the importers, checking everything's okay, seeing what they're doing, finding out what they're bringing in, and talking to the US Embassy, because what I do is funded by the USDA.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay. That's the US Department of Agriculture.
Yep. So they provide a grant to the Brewers Association to promote American produce overseas.
Internationally,
so
yeah.
I come under that pot kind of thing.
Okay.
So I do a lot of liaison and work with the US Embassy here in London and telling what we're up to and showing them all the great work that the Brewers Association is doing and the rise of American exports to the UK and just making sure they're totally up to speed with what's going on.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
In fact, only a couple of weeks ago I was in The Hague talking to all the European countries about American craft beer. There was a big workshop all about the Brexit and marketing strategy and all that kind of thing. So I'm called a cooperator, and people that work in America, it's called agriculture. So other people like cherries and almonds and prunes and meat, everybody was there. And we were all talking to all the other European countries about what we can do to promote and increase, elevate the position of our American products overseas. And that was really fascinating. And the demand for American craft beer is unbelievable. Everybody I spoke to, everybody wants a piece of the Brewers Association. Everybody wants to do an American craft beer event or a festival or a tasting or a beer and food dinner. And they're all dying for it. They're all telling me about their markets, for example, in Poland or Ukraine or any of the Eastern European countries. They're absolutely crying out for more beer. And
Wow. So
yeah,
your
really
role
keen on it.
isn't just limited to the UK.
No,
You
not
cover
at
the
all.
UK and
No,
Europe
no,
as
no.
well.
Yeah. Well, within reason. I mean, Europe's a big place. So.
You can't travel too far. Yeah, you are based in London, but you get the opportunity and
sure.
to represent the Brewers Association across Europe as well.
So I'm going to Paris. I'll be going to Paris in April.
Oh, that's fun. What's that for?
That's for Planet Beer.
Okay.
Which is a big craft beer festival there.
Okay.
And we've done this for about the last 3 years. A massive beer and food dinner where Adam Dooley, the executive chef of the Brewers Association, he comes over, cooks an amazing meal, 5 courses, 10 or 12 beers. I get the journalists and the press and the media there, and we all have a fantastic meal, and they go away and write about it. And it's a really good way of broadening reach about American craft beer.
Yeah, definitely.
And so we'll be doing that again in next April. And in fact, this year we did it at the US Ambassador's residence in Paris, which is like a palace. It was absolutely outrageous.
Wow.
Oh my God.
You've had some really incredible experiences.
Marble fireplaces, wall to wall, kind of glorious stuccos, these carpets a foot deep, and
wow. So
amazing
you're like, what other nice places am I going to see in Paris this time?
Yeah, right, it was absolutely glorious. It was very, very special. So that was pretty nice. I don't think we're going there again next year, but hopefully somewhere quite
just
similar.
as of the same standard would be nice now that you're used to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've been with the BA for what's that? 13
12
years?
Yeah.
And definitely the beer scene in the UK has changed significantly during those times.
Hasn't it just?
So how have you seen the UK beer scene change, and then how has that reception for American beers changed during that time too?
Well, the craft beer scene in the UK has absolutely taken off, hasn't it? In the last few years, it's absolutely going through the roof, which is great. It's great. And it's very much a case of a rising tide floats all boats. So it's great that American craft beer is coming up, and it's increasing, don't forget. The latest figures we've got is up 7.1%, which is fantastic.
Wow. So what is that sales in the UK of American craft beer?
Exports of American craft beer to the UK are up 7%.
Wow.
I know. It's pretty awesome, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, because I sometimes think there are loads of breweries here. Is there room to stretch? But clearly,
there is,
interest.
Because if you're a craft beer lover, you don't want to just commit yourself just to the UK market. You want to expand and experiment and explore, and that means you'll try beers from all sorts of different countries, and that's what we find, that the craft beer world is broad and wide, and people want to taste lots of different types of beers, and so it's not the case that the American craft beer stuff is ignored. It's not. It's very much
it's
up
still
there.
very celebrated.
Yeah, it's definitely very much in demand. Can I just mention one thing about this amazing bottle of 50/50 Eclipse that was
tell me more.
On the back of it is a very special little symbol here, and it's an upside down bottle of beer with the word independent on it, and it's the new Brewers Association Independent Craft Brewer seal, and it was introduced because in America there's a huge interest in independence and finding out where your beer comes from, because a lot of what happens is the big multinational brewers are buying up some of the craft breweries and pretending that they're craft, because they can see that craft brewing is growing and maybe not just the mass market stuff. So they're buying up formerly craft brewers and passing them off as their own, which is causing confusion to the beer drinking. So the Brewers Association created this little symbol here, which they put on, anybody is allowed to adopt it. It's free of charge, and so far over 4,000 breweries have adopted it.
Oh my
which is
goodness.
pretty awesome. Yeah, and it represents 85% of all craft beer volume.
Wow, across the United States.
Across the United States. And it clearly shows that beer is different. That beer is independent. So only small and independent brewers get to use that symbol.
Are able to sport that seal. Wow. So can you tell me, I'm from the States, so I'm familiar with the BA, the Brewers Association, but for listeners in the UK who don't know it as well, who does the Brewers Association represent? What's its purpose in the States?
It's a trade body, and it's designed to promote and protect the small and independent craft brewer. It has about 4,500 brewery members and about 46,000 home brewer members.
Oh my goodness, okay.
And it's all about providing industry insights, statistical research, educational tools, provides grants for things like new hop research, and advocates big time at a federal and congressional level for things like tax relief and duty relief and that sort of thing. Writes and produces a whole load of resources. Some of them you can see, like here, best practices guide and beer and food pairing guides and draft quality manual, and they're all available on the website completely free of charge to download. So it's a resource for its members to go to and help the breweries, and it produces material on sustainability and waste and safety and traceability and all that kind of thing, and all these amazing events like Great American Beer Festival and Craft Brewers Conference and Savor, and it publishes magazines and is a real force for the good, total and utter force for the good.
I'm familiar with the BA from the great data that they provide, showing the growth of the craft beer industry in the US and abroad. The resources, like you mentioned, the draft quality manual, which is really integral if you're studying for the Cicerone, for example. So that's really exciting that they touch on all these different touch points. Not only in the US, but now internationally as well, to help support US beers around the world.
But they're so the Brewers Association is so credible in that. It's so authoritative, and people respect it massively. It's just, I'm totally in awe of what they do, and I'm so proud to work for the Brewers Association here in the UK and Europe. I'm unbelievably honoured. I really am.
Aww.
It's a privilege. It's a total privilege, and I know there are people that would give their right arm to do what I do. So
to get to do this kind of role.
So I never lose sight of the fact that I'm in a lucky position.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think some of that respect and credibility kind of just a tiny bit might rub off on me.
Shines on you a little bit.
That would be great.
Well, you do have reasons to command some authority and some credibility. In 2017, you achieved your beer sommelier, and then just last month, you qualified as a certified Cicerone. So you have gone and achieved your own certifications and qualifications in beer. Why did you decide to go get those certifications? Why was that important to you?
I think one needs to show credibility and show that you have knowledge and that you have been educated on the beer road to a certain level. And I think also being a woman in beer, you need some sort of platform to speak from. It shows you know what you're talking about. I hope it shows you know what you're talking about. I think the beer sommelier was a good thing for me to have here in the UK, but I wanted to go down the Cicerone route because it's more recognised in America.
Yeah,
and
certainly.
All the Brewers Association people have Cicerone, and it's certainly more internationally recognised. So that was the reasoning to do that one. And yeah, it's great. No, it does make me feel very proud of myself, to be honest,
right,
because it was so hard.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And how difficult was that slog? Because I know I was with you alongside it.
Oh, it was a nightmare. The worst thing about Cicerone, you have to wait, as you know, you wait 6 weeks for the results. So within these 6 weeks, I was convincing myself I'd failed.
Yeah.
I totally had convinced myself.
It's a very long 6 weeks, just
was
thinking, did I answer that the right way? Did I not? Do I really know the history of this beer? Blah, blah, blah. Oh my goodness. But you made it.
I made it. Thank God.
You've got lots to celebrate.
Thank you.
And even before you got your Cicerone certification, when you were beer sommelier, and maybe you started this before beer sommelier, but you've been doing lots of judging here in the UK. How did you get into judging, and why is that something you enjoy?
I love judging. It's like being at the Olympics. It's like
the beer Olympics.
It's like the pinnacle of what one does in the beer world. It's it's a challenge. It's a massive challenge, but it's so interesting and it's so exciting, and it's so much a way of bettering oneself. So I first started for just judging for camera at the Champion Beer of Britain, and that was my first experience. And then it just kind of it's just increased and grown since then. So I've done International Beer Challenge, Sabre. I've done quite a lot of Sabre. I've done a lot of home brewing competitions, and then I did Global Masters in August, September this year, and I hope to do more. It's definitely an area that I want to get more involved in. I think it's great.
And do you feel that your studies for beer sommelier and Cicerone have helped you?
Oh,
as
absolutely.
a judge?
Yeah, absolutely, totally.
Yeah. Totally
focused my mind on what the style should be, and now I'm looking at all the guidelines all the time, and when I'm drinking a beer, looking at whether
I was going to ask that next.
Whether it's on style. And
so can you drink a beer for pleasure anymore, or are you constantly analyzing the beers that you drink to see, do they fit to style? Does this taste how it should expect? What is the beer drinking experience like for you?
Well,
now that you know all that you know.
I'm far more pernickety about what I drink now. I definitely, in years before, I'd probably just
settle for it.
Just settle for whatever came. But now I'm far more aware of whether it's whether it's a good beer or a bad beer when I go into a pub, or whether it's a fresh. You can taste an oxidized beer a mile off now, and I never could do that before. So it's training one's palate to recognise these flaws and to appreciate really good beer when you get it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the other day I was in a local pub, and I had the very first pour from the barrel, a very fresh barrel of of Fuller's ES beer, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh,
it really
that sounds
was.
nice.
Yeah,
it hasn't sat there long at all, so you get the first one.
It was absolutely straight out of the barrel because they were changing it in front of me. So and things like that you can tell.
You appreciate quality so much more, and
totally.
you appreciate knowing what's gone into the beer to make it taste the way that it does.
Absolutely.
Have you always been a beer drinker? So you said some of your early PR clients were beer related. Was that because of a love of beer, or did you discover that through your work?
I think it was. I think it was a combination, really. I think it was fairly always there. I think I've never not loved beer. I've always enjoyed it. But, years ago, back in the day, beer was nothing special.
Yeah, right. We didn't have the options that we have today.
No. So I think I started off on lager and, things like that, but eventually progressed onto the finer things in life.
And we'll never look back.
I will certainly never look back. My God.
And you've mentioned already about that incredible beer and food dinner that you went to at the White Horse back in 2006, it was. It sounds like you've had some really incredible opportunities through the role that you do today. You've been to the States a few times to go to GABF, the Great American Beer Festival, and to the Craft Brewers Conference more recently, I believe. So tell me a little bit more about the trips that you have taken to the States, what you've learned, and how that market differs from what you see back home in the UK.
Well, my latest trip was to the Great American Beer Festival in Denver in September, and that was just insane. Oh my God!
I've still not been. I know, and it just I see the photos. It looks so overwhelming, but it just
completely.
It looks like a box that must be ticked.
It's just, if you're a beer lover, you haven't lived until you've gone there. You've got to do. You owe it to yourself as a beer lover to go to the Great American Beer Festival at least once in your life. It really is just amazing, absolutely amazing. There's like 4,000 beers from 800 breweries.
Oh my God.
Which is a hell of a lot. 60,000 people. I mean, it's just
That's a lot
huge.
Of beer.
It's huge. It's a hell of a lot of beer. But it's just done so well. It's so organised. And you have a 1 ounce pour. So people are very respectful. It's not like, yes, you do get the odd person who's maybe
It does add up. Yes, but it's there. You're there to enjoy it.
Yeah, you're just sampling. You're sampling. So you'll never, you always feel totally in control, and you can go around and have as much as you can. But even just a tiny samples, you still can't scratch the surface of 800, 800 breweries, 4,000
beers. Oh my goodness.
It's crazy. And the size of the place, it's as big as 8 football pitches. It's huge.
Oh my goodness.
It's absolutely massive. And on Friday, everybody dresses up. So you have all these crazy costumes, and they've got pretzel necklaces around them, and they're all looking absolutely crazy. But it's great. It really is great fun. And then there's loads of talks and seminars and things you can go to. And running alongside is Paired, which is the beer and food pairing element, and it's like in a separate area, so it's a bit calmer and quieter.
Okay, good. So you've got that respite if you need to take a little break from the madness in the main hall.
Yeah, and it's really good. And there are about 20, or in September there are about 26 chefs and 26 breweries, and they match up, and they each cook 2 pairings. So you've got the food and the beer paired together, and you have the food and the beer together. It's just like a 1 bite portion size, and you go around and sample everything, and that's really good. And you get beers there that aren't on the festival floor, and it's just an incredible celebration of how beer goes so well with food, and how they do it so well in America. I mean, it makes the UK pale into insignificance, really.
So what else did you see beyond just the festival when you were in the States? Were there certain things you were looking for, or were there certain things that you would like to take home? Like you said, beer and food. Maybe not done as well in the UK, but there are some shining examples in the States.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, the Brewers Association, what they do is definitely leading the way with this part of the festival called Paired, and all the other dinners that they do all around the world.
Yeah, that's a great point, because we don't really have beer and food at our festivals in the UK.
No.
All right, and so we can bring that over, Lotte. Next project.
Yeah, but it was also fascinating to discover all the trends at the Great American Beer Festival, because my God, I had some interesting beer.
Yeah. So what else are you seeing over there that will eventually make it to the UK? I assume, is that sort of how things go? Trends will start in the States and follow to the UK.
Yeah, I think that does happen. But one thing that really was different was vegetable sours.
Okay, I can only think of the tzatziki sour that Mad Hatter did. That's the only sort of vegetable sour I can think of here in the UK. What are some of the ones that you got to try in the States?
The most wacky one was a spaghetti goza. But it was spaghetti goza. It was incredible.
Okay.
It really was. It was made from fried tomatoes, oregano, fresh basil, spaghetti, and it's made into it. It literally tasted like you eating a plate of spaghetti bolognese.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what it tasted like.
It is a pasta
incredible.
bowl in a beer.
Yeah.
With that
yeah.
touch of salt too, being
Yeah.
Gosa. That sounds
It was
quite
amazing.
nice, actually.
Yeah, it was quite nice. I mean, I don't think I'd want to drink it all night long, but it was...
But just
it
think
was-
of that
it was amazing.
creativity
I
and
know,
the fact that
exactly.
the flavors actually worked well
Exactly,
together.
exactly.
How interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and there was another fried tomato sour ale done by Adele. That was pretty interesting as well.
Okay.
And then Scar do one with beetroot, apple, carrot, and something else. But
Sounds like
that's
a health
pretty,
juice.
Yeah, and that's pretty wacky. And it's bright pink. It's called pink vapor stew.
Okay, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, but the other big trend, of course, was the IPA craze is massive, and IPAs are massive in America.
Yeah, right, and not
Absolutely
going
massive.
anywhere.
36% of the market,
Wow.
and growing at accounting for 77% of growth.
Wow.
Massive, yeah, huge, and every variation under the sun.
Yeah, I was going to ask,
Red,
are there
black,
different styles?
white,
No, so they're
spice.
all counted together.
Yeah, they're all counted together. There's Brett, there's spice, there's barrel aged, there's sour, there's vegetable, fruit, you name it. Hey,
Essentially-
of course, hazy.
We love our hops, and they're
Yeah.
not going anywhere. It's the big takeaway there.
And the hazy and juicy IPA category, or we call it New England
Yeah.
as well, that was new at the Great American Beer Festival in September, and that had the highest number of entries of all the categories, was with about 390 odd.
Wow.
Yeah, so
that shows you how that style's taken
really,
off.
really popular.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So they also do milkshake. There's a lot of milkshake IPAs, brute IPAs.
Yep.
Very, very interesting.
All these different trends that are
different
coming
trends.
through.
Wow,
So
lovely.
the milkshake IPA is made with lactose in it.
Yep,
So that's
that's right.
milk sugar. It adds sort of a sweeter and
Sweet
creamier
and
body.
a very full mouthfeel. So it is like it looks like a smoothie, and it's all very, very, very juicy. And in fact,
Again, not
some
for
of them
everyone.
taste like a milkshake.
But yeah, some people love them. And then Brute IPA.
Brute, yeah, the
So
brutes
that
are
one-
interesting. Very, very dry.
Yep.
Very, very highly attenuated. So
Yeah,
it's
so typically there's an
clear.
enzyme added in to help sort of eat up all the rest of the sugar that might be left to really give a bone dry finish to the
Yeah.
beer.
And very champagne-like. Mm-hmm. Very,
High
very highly
carbonation.
carbonated. The most champagne-like beer I think that I found at the festival. But lovely, really, really nice.
Yeah,
really
right.
enjoyed drinking
So
that.
there's creativity in beer still to be found.
Absolutely.
People are pushing the envelope
Oh,
constantly
totally.
and creating all these
American
funky
brewers
different
are-
styles.
They're known for their innovation and their
Yeah.
experimentational ideas, and it's still happening. It's still there. They haven't lost their touch.
Yeah, that's
for
not
sure.
going anywhere. That's true. So what would you say has been your one most memorable experience from your work with the BA? It sounds like you've had many.
Oh, that's a tricky question.
Is that a tough one?
That's a tricky question. I really enjoyed going to the Craft Brewers Conference in April of this year. That was really good because it's
And
just
how does that differ from GABF?
well, it's not a festival; it's a conference. So it's seminars.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 15,000 brewers attend,
Oh, wow.
and there are about 80 seminars, 200 different speakers, 12 different tracks. It's knowledge and education. So for me, it was a great way to find out more about the American craft beer industry, network, find out what's really driving people. Go to the State of the Industry address, which is when the Brewers Association will reveal all the latest stats and figures for the last year, and that was great. That was a really, really good experience.
Yeah, right. To be with all the brightest minds in our industry, and then for you to be able to bring that knowledge back to the UK on behalf of the BA and to help share that and educate
That's
people
right.
in the US industry is really helpful.
And then
as
I could
well.
write about it. It provides great content for articles and writing for magazines and websites. Same with the Great American Beer Festival, going to that and coming back, and I could write stuff for various websites and magazines, and that was really, really rewarding.
Yeah.
But there's been loads. We've had some great dinners here in the UK when the Adam Dooley, the executive chef, comes over, and he's an absolute star at beer. He's a total god at beer and food matching. And we always go to these.
We've all got to have our people to look up to.
We go to great restaurants. The last one was a Brat, which is a new, very trendy restaurant in Shoreditch, and had amazing things like a whole grilled turbot matched with 2 different beers.
Wow.
5 courses again.
And it's that idea of taking beer and sort of putting it in a new context sometimes, so people start to think about beer differently. Yes, it has a place at the dinner table, at the high-end dinner table, with different flavors that you wouldn't think of it normally matching with.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we're trying to showcase and just elevate the whole image of beer and food. So it's not just it's an afterthought or
Down the pub with your
down the
friends.
pub or have a pie and a pint kind of thing. We want
Yeah.
it to be far higher, far higher perception of it, and show people how just the range of flavours in beer goes so well with food, because there's so many different flavours in beer. Arguably, many more than wine. Wine, you've just got red wine, white wine, or rosé, but beer, you've got the whole gamut of ingredients and flavours and styles. And I defy anyone to say they don't like a beer or they can't find a beer that goes well with a certain food, because there's always something you can pick out. There's always something in an IPA or a sour or a stout that's going to match well with what you're eating. So it's a huge opportunity. But the UK are a little bit slow compared to the US.
It's all right. It just gives us room to grow. Things to work on.
Yeah, let's hope so, yeah.
That's my positive take anyway. We'll get there someday. And with your help, someday sooner than it would have been without.
Yeah, let's hope so.
What, of the different parts of your job, what aspect do you enjoy the most? So you've got writing, speaking, events. Tell me more, and then you let me know what your favorite is out of all of the different touch points of your
That's
job.
a tricky one as well. I love the writing aspect, and that's really interesting, particularly new subjects or even writing in my own name, because I do a lot of byline stuff, and sometimes I write in my own name too, and that's really fun. And I love the judging. I love doing that. Going to the events is great, and organising the events. I mean, the Craft Beer Rising's coming up in February.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
I'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, I know. So we'll probably have about up to 20 different breweries coming over, maybe 50 different beers. And the brewers themselves usually come as well, maybe about 5 or 6 brewers. They'll come over and do tastings and talks, and that's amazing as well.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say pick one thing out over anything else, because I really enjoy. I love what I do. It's so much fun, and I love beer. I love the beer. I love tasting the American beer. Probably a bit too much.
It's all right. That's why we're passionate about what we do. Exactly. If we didn't like beer, we wouldn't be here. So that's allowed.
Exactly.
And now, is the Brewers Association your only client? This is what you spend all of your time on?
Yes. I've got this.
Aren't you lucky?
I've got this one client that's tiny. They're a cleaning. They're a cleaning range, and I've been trying to get rid of them.
Push them out the door a bit.
So many years. And
that's too funny.
I mean, they probably only do about a few minutes a month.
Yeah, it's a very
very
small
much,
amount of your
but,
time, and you're like, but I want all my time on beer now.
They're hanging on in there, sadly.
That
but
is
no,
too
it's
funny.
Maybe
it's good
the Brewers
to
Association.
look outside of beer every now and then. Who knows? And speaking of outside of beer, so what are the things that you like to get up to outside of the beer world? I know you've got a family, you've got a new puppy, you play field hockey. That's all I know about your hobbies.
Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
What else do you do?
Yeah, the hockey's a big thing.
In your free time
I love playing hockey. That's every Saturday. And we say hockey in the U. I know you guys call it field hockey, but
it's just hockey here.
It's just hockey,
sorry.
Just hockey, because we don't have anything else.
Is, when you lose
It's
your
the
teeth
ice.
and you're
That's
on
ice hockey,
and,
isn't it?
Yeah, it's aggressive.
Yeah.
Maybe that's you. I don't know. Maybe you are skating on the ice and punching people's lights out.
It's on Astro these days as well, so it's not even on a field.
Okay, so we'll just call it hockey.
Yeah, so I've done that played hockey for years and years and years, slowly getting worse and worse and slower and slower.
All the beer is slowing you down? What?
Slipping down the squads, I'll eventually end up at the bottom.
Well,
but
at least it's still the
fun.
Exercise you need to balance out the beer.
Yeah. The only downside is the club, because I play at Barnes Hockey Club, which is my local club, but there's not a great deal of beer afterwards, which is a bit of a shame.
Okay, well, you're just going to have to bring some instead.
Well, I do have, that has been known.
And you just bring the beer along. You must be everyone's favourite member of the team.
Yes, very popular sometimes.
That is so funny. This is always a fun one to ask, as most people who have come to the beer industry have come from quite a different place. So was this the future that you envisioned for yourself when you first started your professional career?
No.
Usually the answer I expect, yes. What were you expecting your future to look like?
Well, I had no idea when I first started out on my career path. I don't know, no one can really speculate and look into a crystal ball, but it's been a fantastic career so far, and I hope it will continue to be so. But it's interesting, this woman in the beer world, and also being an older woman in the beer world. I mean, a lot of people are quite new to this industry. The whole craft beer scene in the UK, it's all quite new and quite trendy and quite hip. But everyone I meet, they're all quite young dudes. I'm not. I'm older than most, and without giving too much away. There's still a place. There is a place for everybody. Everybody is welcome. and everybody should be in it, no matter what age. If you're only just starting out in the beer world, it doesn't matter. Whether in your 20s, your 40s, your 60s, there's always a place and there's always a little niche that you can find. And I think that's important to retain and to keep hold of, because it's just a great world to be in, and very, very welcoming, and you'll always find something that you love here.
Mm-hmm. And what is your vision for the future then? Now that you're here with the BA and sort of you've blossomed into a career you didn't think you would be in, what are you looking forward to in the future?
Well, my next step, which I'm really hoping is going to come off, is to judge either the Great American Beer Festival or the World Beer Cup.
Amazing! That's a great goal
to
have.
Yeah, that's my ambition.
So
I'm working
when
on
will
it.
you find out about either of those?
Well, I have actually put my application in just recently. I don't know. There's a huge waiting list, though. I mean, it's not going to happen anytime soon, but that's something that I would
that's
really,
the box to tick.
Yeah,
on
that's
the career.
my aim, shall we say?
Oh, good. It's always good to have something to work towards, and then one day you'll get to look at it and say, "Yep, I did that."
Yep, tick that box. Yeah, done my Olympic judging.
Yes, exactly. Lotte at the Olympics, not the ones you're thinking of.
Yeah,
the beer
different
Olympics.
the beer Olympics. Yeah, that's good enough for me, though. Hey. I'm never going to get to the hockey Olympics. Let's face it.
We are going to have to wrap up, and I'm going to wrap up with the question I always end with. What do you enjoy most about being a part of the beer industry?
I enjoy the people. It's the people. The people are great. The sense of camaraderie, the sense of collaborative spirit. I think everybody is just lovely. I haven't come across anyone that I wouldn't want to have a beer with. Mm-hmm. I think they make all the difference. Everyone's very open. Everyone's willing to share knowledge and share interests and be welcoming. And I think it's a lovely spirit within the industry. I think the people really, really make it. So that would be my first answer. Then the second thing is the beer.
Yes,
love the beer.
Course.
The beer and all the beautiful, lovely, amazing flavours and how it's growing. That's the second choice as well.
100%.
Yeah,
both of them are key. So thanks so much for your time, Lotte. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dad. I'm very honoured to be on.
You haven't heard it all from Lotte yet. So passionate about beer and food pairing, Lotte asked if she could prepare some pairings for us to talk and taste our way through. In A Beer with Nat First, we've got a bonus episode all about food and beer pairing, so go check it out. Then, in 2 weeks' time, come on back to hear from Nanna Goldbeck, the art director for Norwegian brewery Lervig, on what it was like to give Lervig a new look. You don't want to miss it. Thanks again for listening, and chat soon.